Hello, my friends, and welcome to week 3, the final week of group stages here in Nocturnal Prospect Cup. My name is Bull Skunk alongside Mana Class, and we're going to start off in the Eastern Division. We have Hour Zero taking on Avoided, trying to see if they can claim their spot into the playoffs.
Yeah, Avoided, of course, a team that we never really know what to expect. I mean, we sort of do, but we don't really. And Hour Zero has been consistently performing lately in other cups. Also in the Prospect Cup, I've been doing their thing. Got a very nice roster on there. If we look at their team, you can definitely see that they've got some names on there. We always look back to Beckenbauer on that main tank. Hills from Saudi Arabia. We have Synoid coming in from Norway. Those are the outliers of the group. Everyone else, US Soil, Train Cloud, Viral, Cupcake, and Jam on the rest of the roster. And what we've mostly seen from this team is that they like to play not as much Genji as some other teams do. They love the Echo, love the Junkrat. They will still go with the double barrier Ashe most of the time, and the Break Baptiste, but not so much with the DPS that they completely line it up there. And that may completely play into what Avoided wants to do, or may play exactly against what Avoided wants to do, because Avoided is not a meta team, Bull Skunk.
No, not at all. And another team that has been on the absolute up and coming, that squad making it into EU trials. They had a great run there through with the Fran Overwatch Community Cup, but it doesn't look like the same roster that you might have seen for that EU Contenders Trials match.
It really is not. So all the players that you expect from Avoided from the EU side are not here. It's going to be a complete, I wouldn't say revitalization of the roster. It's just their NA roster. So there's 9 players that can potentially be playing. Oh, there's specialty heroes. So it's all about who we get on the first 6 to actually see what they might be running. Now, it looks like they're going to come out with both Hammond Main and BAME 1 fan, which is Vincent. And they are both known to play the Wrecking Ball. So one of them is going to switch because you can't have both. The Bastion main Aquamarine 100% look to be going for that Bastion and that Junkrat combo. Invin and Nolan Koronav, they are the Ana player. And the other support that kind of eludes me, probably Lucio. But looks like Invin might go for the Baptiste, Hammond main for the Sigma. And that will be, I mean, it's always a pleasure to watch Avoided. Because, like, again, we see the heroes, but it's still a question of what they're actually going to do with it. Because there are strats that we don't see anyone else do. So we have to wait until we get an Avoided game, until we can start talking about it.
Well, so far, their unique strats have served them well. They're 5-0 here in this tournament. 3-2 for Hour Zero. Hour Zero trying to beat the undefeated team. See if they can clinch a spot into the postseason here in the Prospect Cup. And our match is underway. The Sim Turrets getting Hour Zero out of the gate first. And looking to get some positional advantage, though they're not going straight to the point here, Classic.
No, they're not. And, I mean, they don't really have to, especially, you would think that Avoided would be happy to be on the point and then just spam out anyone that wants to them. But they're actually much more happy to have a Bastion on the high ground. And there's not that much high ground on the point. It's actually around it.
Aquamarine finding first blood here in today's match. Taking Cyanide down on the other side. Now, Bastion Main picking up that high ground you were talking about. Looking to rain some hell from above as Avoided does get capture progress started. Viral going up with a nice deflect. Going to take Bastion Main down. And that's going to be a 2-hero lead here for Hour Zero. Now it's their turn to push on the point, see if they can reclaim this objective.
Yeah, and so far, Avoided is doing a pretty good job of doing that. Gets a nice environment.
Yeah!
Making all mains. And therefore, this fight is probably going to swing back into the direction of Avoided. Gets another one, because why not? And no one seems to be able to pay enough attention to this Wrecking Ball to actually dislodge them from where they want to fight from.
Despite Hour Zero taking the early advantage, they never got that point flipped.
No, they really didn't. And they've swapped over to that dive DPS setup. They don't want to run into the spam with more long range. They don't want to spam back themselves. And Aquamarine and Bastion Main are so hard to reach, especially Bastion Main. If they can fuel for that correctly, the Tracer and the Genji have to expend all their mobility to get close to the Bastion and then try and take them out.
3 ults available, including the Flux and the Riptire here for Avoided. As Hour Zero is looking to push in. Synod gonna move in, try to claim some playing some space on the objective, but the rest of the team seems nowhere to be found. It's an odd rotation coming through from Hour Zero, and they seem to be struggling to focus down the opposition as Bastion Main does find that kill. Cupcake will take out the tire with the help from that amplification matrix. Rally thrown in from Jam as well, but it's not enough to keep Hour Zero in this fight.
They do take out Bastion with that pulse bomb, but it's not going to be enough. And with one fight territory, I mean, 90%, they can barely get back here in time. Only with the Wrecking Ball, really. Gotta roll into some mines probably as well. This is going to be a tough one to get back into for Hour Zero. This first point seems to just be convincingly going to avoid it.
TrainCloud clearing up those mines with that shield. Viral with the Blade online. Can we get some last-second heroics here in the overtime? Blade comes out. Does not seem to really find what he's looking for. Immortality perfectly placed, keeping the supports alive. TrainCloud putting in a couple of kills, trying to keep Hour Zero in this fight. But Bastion Main and Hammond Main both striking back with a vengeance. Bastion Main finding 3 kills on the back end of this fight.
Yeah, Avoided so far looking characteristically strong on the heroes that they're playing and in the composition that they're playing it with. A lot of damage output, a lot of CC, a lot of spam, and if you are not a strong 6-man unit and you cannot get on top of any of those heroes without taking too much poke, then you're just going to go down over and over and over again. Now, Viral loves playing the Junkrat, and we will probably see them go over to that hero on this control center point. And Sinoid actually often stays on the Symmetra when they do this. So they come out of spawn with speed boost and teleporter, they'll be able to set up early. And then they can do a lot of damage counter to what Avoid is doing that don't have as many shields as they do.
But despite having a Reinhardt and an Orisa, those shields aren't going to last long up against Bastion Main.
But Hammond Main's shield won't either. That's like that's kind of my point, right? Where the shield war should be won here by the side of Hour Zero. Now both Junkrats are down.
5v5 here on the server room. As Hour Zero now looking to push into wide, see if they can clinch a position. They're going to have to get by Bastion Main, who's sitting off on the flank angle, shooting up through the stairwell. Now Aerozero able to rotate onto the objective, get those pair of shields put up. Fame1 Fam, aka Vincent, doing a little spin to win here, but TrainCloud with a nice charge, able to take him down. And now, Avoided looking a little scattered as Hour Zero's looking to clean up the mess here in Stolz.
Yeah, they're definitely trying. Bastion Main is still there, though, does get taken out. This will be the cleanup finally from Hour Zero. And you see the way that Bastion Main sort of has to play on that Bastion. They have to play as far back as they can without still getting value. Because if they don't, they will just be taken out fairly easily. Teams know how to deal with a Bastion. If you just set them up in an unsafe spot, they will be taken out. But it's going to be Nolan Koronov that actually takes down Sinoid on that Symmetra. The Moira DPS square comes into play.
Yeah, Viral shutting down that Coalescence. Now without that large chunk of sustain, Avoided forced to try to push in, see if they can get some quick kills, using the Hammond Mines amongst that, in that vein. But we've got the Photon Barrier out and several ults available here for Hour Zero if they do get into trouble. That Sound Barrier is going to be the next to come out, and then there's a 3-man shatter right up into the White Room. The Hog Hook, not enough. The ball, Hog and Ball Torture. Doesn't look like it's going to work out for Avoided just yet, though Fame1 does pick up 1 kill onto TrainCloud. Perhaps a slight opening, finds another kill onto Sinoid as well. But it's a 2v4 here on the objective with about 68% already captured for Hour Zero. An interesting placement on that Amp Matrix there, Blast. Oh,
yeah, sometimes you don't quite know. But yeah, it looks like Avoid might actually take this one. Viral's coming out with the tire. Immortality Field is out, will take the ball. Tire on the other side is still going. Will not find anybody.
No, Aquamarine's tire, I think it did some damage to TrainCloud. He was able to then get the final blow with the primary fire. And Avoided able to flip the point throughout the chaos. Man, they do thrive in this chaos, don't they?
They don't just thrive in it. They actively seek to create it because they know they thrive in it. And a lot of it has to do with certain heroes just doing things you don't expect them to do. And that all comes back into the whole they're so good at the heroes that they play mechanic. Now this high ground is completely flooded with Hour Zero players, but I don't quite know what they want to do up there. It's not like they have a Bastion that can spam down.
Yeah, they're running into a lot of damage. They do have a supercharger available. They're going to jump down to the point. Hour Zero throwing up a supercharger, but it does not stand a chance against all the damage coming from Bastion Main. And Bauer themselves fall in the process. Coalescence thrown in, and Hour Zero struggling to find an approach here. They do manage to finally close the gap onto Bastion main, get the primary source of damage out of the way. Another Photon Barrier up to try to protect against the rest of the damage coming in. Mines thrown on the point from Avoided, but Valor with the ball of his own, able to force him off. Viral throwing down the tire, taking down Hammond main. And nevertheless, throughout all this, Hour Zero still not able to flip the point, not just yet.
No, that won't be able to. And we're sometimes talking about this primary source of damage, and it really seems that Avoided, all of them are able to put out a lot of damage. So no matter what they do, they have DPS supports, DPS tanks. It doesn't really matter what you go with, they will get you. See, even Nolan just chases behind a barrier will just kill them. And it's those type of plays that you really will not see from many outside of Avoided on these type of heroes.
Yeah, even the Moira getting into the kill feed there. Sinoid. Nice opening pick here as we enter final fight territory. Oh, but the tire counters right back. Cupcake and Tranquil back at spawn. No more shield, no more immortality field. Sinoid strikes back, does finish off Aquamarine. 4v4 approaching here on the fight as the seconds dwindle down. Last chance for Hour Zero to bounce back here in our second round of Lijiang Tower. Sound Barrier used to help Hour Zero close the gap, push onto the objective. Get the Earth Shatter coming out, finds Bastion main, finds Inven, both go down. And Hour Zero now pushing on the point. Trangon's aggressive positioning and kind of just going solo here. Oh, cannot survive all the damage from the Hog. Van getting into the mix as the overtime wick starts to burn.
Well, the overtime wick is on, but they still have to flip it on the Avoided side, and then there's going to be another overtime wick, so they're looking pretty good, so maybe we're taking this still on Hour Zero side. They have to keep on touching. They cannot get this control over. It'll be detrimental, but when you have no one left alive, who's going to stall it out, Wolfgang?
No, the ultimates were not enough. Avoided, able to overcome that ult deficit, take it in the end. An early 1-0 lead here for Avoided in this matchup.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about how important this match is for, especially for Hour Zero. Like, Avoided has won all their games. They're on top of the standings. It's hard to really threaten them. So that also means that it's a hard matchup for Hour Zero to actually take. But Hour Zero is currently tied with 3 other teams to potentially get into, the qualification for the next phase, for the playoffs. And if they don't actually win this game, they're putting themselves in a worse position to potentially have tiebreakers or not even need tiebreakers and just qualify straight away. So Hour Zero really wants to pick up that win. The maps don't matter. They just need to win the series. And that does put a lot of pressure on them because you're not only playing against the Voided, who are, on top of the standings, but you're also playing to potentially progress in the tournament.
Well, and I can't help but wonder, does Hour Zero want it more? Going into this matchup, Avoided has already clinched that spot. If my math is correct, sitting there at 5-0. Does that mean they're going to take their foot off the gas a little bit, and Hour Zero might have the drive to get the upset here? Well, so far, it does not look like that's the case.
No, and you got to also remember that Avoided has been going through some, I wouldn't say roster iterations. They've just been implementing their NA pickups that they've been getting. Right. So they're finally getting into the groove of playing with this lineup that they've had to work on for a while. Before that, we still had some of the EU players like Minimi and who else? Even Yezen we had come in, like their Pharah main on the EU side, who's now also qualified in their contenders roster. So there's been some iterations there. So it doesn't just have to be about taking your foot off the gas. It has to do with trying to get as much out of their roster as you can in the short amount of time that they've been able to implement this. So it's very good to see that they're trying to maximize the potential of this roster and not just saying, we've already qualified, because it doesn't matter if you've qualified, you still need to keep up the pressure and definitely keep up the practice. So all of this experience, this battle experience, is only more valuable to them.
And going into the playoffs, going in 7-0, you get in your opponent's head, right? You could put forth that we are the team to beat. So, and another question that comes to mind is, with this unusual one-trick kind of team that they've built, the compositions that they use, do you think that synergy is more important or less important? Because it seems like you could rely on individual performance, but the chaotic style they bring to the table requires so much teamwork.
I think that's the whole point of it, right? It's normally if you get one of those one-trick heroes, if there's one of those on your team, if you're in ranked or something like that, they sow a lot of chaos and they're very good individually, so they're hard to deal with. But if you put 6 of those together and they can all have that individual stuff, and then you bring it as a unit, that's like layer up a layer up a layer of unpredictable chaos that is completely in their control. Because every single time you play them, they are not going to adapt to you, at least not in composition.
Right.
They're going to adapt to maybe how they play, but you're the one that has to make that move. Going into King's Row, we all think we know this map. We all think, oh, it's so familiar. But Avoided comes out, and they played something that no one else would even dare try. They're going to come in here with a Winston Wrecking Ball, Sigma Wrecking Ball still, which, you know, they have run that before. Then we see the Hanzo instead of the Bastion from Bastion main. No, they'll swap back over because they like to debate me. It's the same as they did on Li Jiang, but you do see that there's this Hour Zero need to potentially adapt to it, and they're already doing an okay job with the Mei so far.
Yeah, Hour Zero running the double shield Mei Genji, and it's serving them well here in the opening seconds. Moira getting into the back line. Don't try this at home, friends. The Moira and they're getting hyper aggressive, threatening to get punished. You had both the Sigma of Train Cloud and Viral's Genji focusing down the Moira, and indeed Nolan goes back to spawn courtesy of Train Cloud.
Yeah, and so far it really does look like Void is going to have trouble getting past this, but you got to remember, the Bastion with their ultimate can actually jump over that main wall if they really want to. I think most of their heroes can, aside from Moira and Sigma, but Moira can of course fade a bit, so she'll be able to bait it potentially. And a lot of damage is still available, so that wall might not even stand up for long.
Both DPS from Avoided circling up to the high ground. I believe Takes are trying to push through main at this time. Such a difficult angle. The Sigma trying to bounce those hyperspheres off the roof, trying to get some damage in, but it's spotty at best.
Look at that. Take a stolen.
Yeah.
Almost 2.
Aquamarine fighting a pair. Bastion getting in the mix. Aquamarine does eventually go down, but of course the respawn so heavily favor the attacking team. Avoided pushing in. 2 ticks picked up already. The third not far behind.
And Hour Zero spent so much effort into protecting that choke, and they do a brilliant job of it. The choke is not in danger of being broken, but it doesn't need to be broken if Nolan and Bastion, or Nolan and Hammett main, sorry about that, were just already behind them. Was it Fame 1 fan? It was the Wrecking Ball on the Moira. They were behind them on the point. They grabbed 2 ticks before anyone even touched it. Back from Hour Zero, and by that time they're all of a sudden, oh, we have to go back. We also have to protect choke, and then their chaos gets split up again, and it will completely be Avoided's game after that.
Now coming back in, we do have the Nano Blade ready to go for Hour Zero. Riptire out from the offense to start off this next engagement. Xenoid able to pick that off with an Icicle. Great shot from Xenoid to value that ultimate. Once again, Moira inside the house taking this incredibly aggressive posture while the Hammond comes through the back to sow the descent. Out from the defense. Try to see if they can put a halt to the chaos, but they gotta watch out for the take configuration from the other side. Oh, Train Cloud eats so much damage, but the Nano Blade thrown in. Finally pulled out from Viral. The Katana slices down half the members of the attacking team, and Hour Zero able to plant their feet.
I was a bit worried about that Nano Blade because I think, you know, how much value can that actually get in a situation like this? But Nolan gets a triple. I mean, this is what they do. This is literally what Avoided does. Any other team would just save the Coalescence for a moment when they're all there and they use it for healing and damage at the same time. But Nolan just recognizes that with all the damage that Aquamarine, Bastion main, Bame 1 fan, and Hammond main are pushing out there, that in the end of that fight, there's just enough low health targets they could just finish it off with a Coalescence.
Nolan just fearless on this Moira. Now an amplified Bastion up on the top. No. That Blizzard doesn't have the reach to go all the way across King's Row. And Avoided doing such a good job of, well, avoiding that giant ultimate coming out from the Mei. We'll see if the Supercharger rally will be enough for the defense to hold. Train Cloud just making a giant swap. Goes over to the Hog. He's going to force his life to take down Aquamarine. And Hour Zero do look to have a little bit of positional advantage, but I feel like that can just change in a heartbeat here, Classy.
It really could. It's all really up to what Avoided does. But you saw that communication come into play there, right? Where we were talking about it before, like, are they just thriving chaos with individual play? But they communicated that Train Cloud was going behind him with a Roadhog, and Bastion Main had actually walked backwards to deal with a trapped Roadhog. So, yeah, it's just a scary proposition when you put all of these one tricks, these very good specialists on their heroes together, and then have them do something like this.
Avoided just seem to be magicians with this composition. A little sleight of hand. Draw your attention to one side, and then here comes the tire from the other. Will the Rip Tire find value? Oh! Valor able to fortify him immediately, but enough damage was done that Avoided are able to finish off that main tank. Now no more shielding left for the defense. Despite the 5 ultimate advantage, they can't win the battle.
No, it's really one of those, you have to deal with it all at the same time. Like, we've all been there where you have to deal with the Junkrat, or you have to deal with the Bastion, maybe with the Wrecking Ball that's being very annoying. You have to deal with all of them at the same time, and they know you do. So there's not really one accepted answer at this point. And that's the problem that Hour Zero having. Well, yeah. But even then, if you because normally you focus fire your Bastion, the rest of the team cannot do as much damage as this Junkrat can do.
Well, here comes the Nano Blade. Oh, but the Gravitic Flux just throws the power to Twins head to the ceiling, smashes him down to the floor, devalues 2 ultimates with one swift click of the button. Viral does pick up a kill, and it's a 5v4 favoring the defense, but the Coalescence once again answers right back. Coalescence finds 2, 3 more here for Nolan. This Moira just absolutely taking my breath away. What an aggressive support hero. But Viral able to keep Hour Zero in this fight.
I mean, I felt like it was more Nolan keeping Avoided in that fight, because it felt like they were losing it already for like a solid 10 seconds, and then the Coalescence comes in, and it's just too much. Viral is probably going to be a bit frustrated. You know, this Moira, every single time I blade, this Moira just gets as much or more kills than me. And I don't really know how to deal with that, because it's a Moira. She's not supposed to do that. She's a support, right?
Yeah,
right?
Coalescence isn't supposed to get the same value as Nano Blade. What world are we living in here, Classy?
I don't know. I don't even know. A word that was supposed to avoid, I guess?
Supercharger out from the decent Ant Matrix available from Avoided here. 1 kill apiece on the back end of point C. 90 seconds on the clock for Avoided to finish off King's Row. Like they're just posturating, waiting for Bane 1 to get into position. Hammond Main with a wonderful kinetic grasp. He was up to about 800 health there, it looked like. Ooh, the hook on the Bastion Main pulling him into unwanted territory. But, Train Cloud forced to use the take a breather, perfectly timed. Takes down Bastion Main mid-tank configuration. Now Coalescence of their own coming out from Hour Zero, trying to turn the tide, trying to use Avoided's own tricks against him as Bauer takes down Aquamarine. No more DPS standing for the attackers.
Yeah, now that I've gone for this more long-range spammer approach there, the Roadhog as well. Like, Hour Zero has been changing their roster out a little bit. You cannot really catch Jam out easy on that Moira. Cupcake does a lot with the anti-nades and the sleep darts. Sinoid now on the Hanzo, able to do a lot of free fight spam that they cannot really do because there's not that much range on the side of Avoided. And the same thing sort of goes with Train Cloud. Like, they have the ability to shut down one hero fairly easily without much teamwork.
Yeah, Hour Zero, frankly, have done a great job of adapting, pulling out just little micro plays, micro counters, trying to make this work. And they've got one more fight to hold Avoided at bay. Bastion Main taking down Viral, who was mid-Nano Blade. A disastrous start for this defense for Hour Zero. Now Avoided pushing in, smelling blood in the water, looking for the kills, finding them indeed. Overtime of his wick is burning, but Avoided just moments away from picking up that 3rd point.
They can barely touch with Viral and Jam, but they both go down to a trap, and this team play from Avoided together. This last 2 meters will be reached. Yes, it's overtime, but they do make it. And that last fight was actually very, very interesting. So Viral goes in with the Nano Blade, but just before that, Bane 1 fan throws out the minefield, and the minefield just denies any follow-up from the rest of their team. The rest of the team cannot help Viral out in killing Bastion Main. Meanwhile, Bastion Main is supported by an Immortality Field, Baptiste Healing, a Moira Coalescence. Like, there's nothing that can kill them. They can even heal themselves throughout of that. And then even a Nanoblade cannot burst through that quick enough. So Viral, in all their might, all that hot Nanoblade action, cannot get through a Bastion. And then afterwards, the rest of the team just follows up with Bastion main killing a few people, Bane 1 fan, Hammond main. Like, they're all in there, in that minefield, and just get taken out. So, very well done from Avoided. I don't know if they knew the Nanoblade was there. I would assume they expected it to be there.
Right.
Whether that was a heads-up play that they played it out, but it definitely worked out in their favor in the end. So, going on the defense now, we will see Hammond main go back onto that Sigma, as we, I would say we're expecting it, but that's it's been happening lately. This might be actually real. We might see the Reinhardt from Bane 1 fan. No Wrecking Ball from either of the Wrecking Ball mains.
You know, we've just learning to expect the unexpected. As soon as we think we have Avoided figure out, they throw another curveball at us, and that's exactly
But that's the thing.
Yep.
That's also what they want to do. We've had a few interviews with them, and the main that's been coming out is like, yeah, we want to not say that we're not one tricks anymore, but like we want to steer away from, if this player is playing, you know exactly which hero they're going to be running. They want to throw in more curveballs, throw in more characters that we might not be expecting, and this Sigma Reinhardt composition is just another one of those iterations.
On the side of the attacking team, Hour Zero coming out with the Orisa Hog and the Shimada brothers once again, very similar to what we saw there on their defense in Point C. Looking to just put some long range down, try to find that opening pick, and they've got to identify where the Bastion is sitting. But look at that, he's so far back, he's going to be so hard to get to, Classy.
They always forget as well, like even me, like I know that Bastion main is going to be there. I know he's going to do something, but every single time we look at them, Bastion main is just walking around. He's just going to a different place. Now he's bursting down Train Cloud behind the point. Now, like they're trying to focus him down, but like we cannot even keep track of him, let alone the player.
Hour Zero has done a wonderful job, a nice slow and steady approach of moving in and individually picking off the players from Avoided, and now claiming their space into the streets, already planting their flag on Point A.
Yeah, they did a very good job indeed of that slow approach, and they didn't let Avoided take the split fight approach. They actually went for their own split fight, but meanwhile we have Nolan.
Oh no, Nolan!
Player takes out the support and DPS in the backline, will not get Coalesce back. This might give Avoided a very good way back into this fight. They might be able to recontest this point, especially with this Wrecking Ball just rolling around at the speed of sound.
They've got to take that ball down fast. Okay, they do eventually get the ball, but Train Cloud forced to use the whole hog. The Genji Blade comes out as well, so a very expensive fight just to pick up that last hit.
Oh yeah, they only had to use that Coalescence for it for Nolan. Bane 1 fan does switch over to the Wrecking Ball instead of the Reinhardt. Not quite there yet on the hero. Maybe they just don't want to. Maybe they think the Wrecking Ball's better. You know, of course, I would hope they think the Wrecking Ball's better with their player history. But yeah, they'll have 4 ultimates, maybe even 5 up in this next fight with the speed that Nolan's been charging these Coalescences. So hard to it will be hard to deal with that, especially when we see another Amplification Matrix Bastion combo. But that can't happen. Bastion may goes down early.
Sinoid with a great pick to start things off, and close to Dragons in his own right. As Hour Zero approaches the final corner of Point B. Look like a couple of flanking heroes coming through the alley, trying to cut them off, trying to split up the attackers. But Sinoid's going to throw those Dragons down, repel the flanking members of Avoided. He picks up a kill in the process, and one of the most important ones. Perfect going down. Now the Mine's in the back, once again trying to split up the attackers. Oh, and the Gravitic Flux lifts Sinoid in the air, slams him back down into the Mines. Viral does eventually pick up a pair of kills in his own right. And I think it's a one-man lead here for the attacking team as the kills keep going back and forth. Hour Zero does eventually surge victorious. Yeah. No way.
Nolan's still on card. There's only 3 enemies. We know what Nolan does with 3 enemies usually, but no. This time the Coalescence doesn't come out. But it's been a very fast attack from Hour Zero so far. Of course, if they complete this map with over a minute left, Avoided doesn't get another shot at this, but it does look like Avoided will at least be able to contest this one point with one more fight.
That would be the ideal situation for Hour Zero. You're going to have to get past the 3 ultimates coming out simultaneously from the defense. Tyre picks up one, then Viral tossing in the Genji Blade. No nano boost on it this time. Just picks up that important Moira kill. And that was 3 ultimates used from the defense and not a whole lot of value to show for.
No, they really had more of a desperation push there. Like the Wrecking Ball really came in very late. Bane 1 fan now goes over to the Orisa. They won that extra shielding, that extra CC apparently. And Train Cloud on the Roadhog. It has been a very interesting sight because it's been working
Right.
And it's mostly been working because Train Cloud sort of operates as this solo unit outside of everything else. Even more so than they sometimes do in the Sigma already.
And the Hog's such a great character to shut down the Hammond momentum, you know, to pull the Bastion out of the positions that they want to sit in. And now Train Cloud making his way into the back line, whole Hog ready to go. Oh, but he's stuck between a Bastion and a hard place. Not even to take a breather. Able to keep him alive through all of that damage.
Yeah.
Now, how do they close this gap?
But so much focus that they have to put on that Roadhog though, and now Avoided is in a very precarious position because this card has been rolling the entire time. It's good spam that they can do with both this Genji and this Hanzo, even the Roadhog and the Orisa to a degree, onto that Bastion. But Bastion main has been able to be protected, and they're looking to peel a bit more now. It's harder to flank around this as Roadhog on this last point, and what a hold combo. Train Cloud, bye-bye, off the map, go sleep with the Omnix in the Foundry. We will,
Just as you were saying, Train Cloud just seems to be such an important facet to close the distance. Like this push just got shut down, and now he's going Sigma. I'm not sure I like the swap. I thought the Hog was getting a lot of value.
The thing is, he has to. So before, he could get around the enemy team, get to the Bastion, but they're not in that position anymore because he can't get around something because he would have to go through the enemy spawn, and he can't.
Well, it was also used to counter the Wrecking Ball, and BAME 1 has now made that swap over to the Eraser the fight or two ago. Oh, Blade versus Bastion. Oh, beautiful stun from Train Cloud to knock Bastion out of his turret form, but it only stalls it. It does not shut it down. 3 kills for the defense. Back to spawn goes our Zero.
Another environmental there on Beckenbauer. But yeah, Viral comes at him with the blade. He gets the nano boost, gets the healing. There's no way the Viral bursts through that damage mitigation and that extra health and the extra damage. That's also the threat there from Bastion main. Will be ultimates, yeah, they were very close to get it. But now with 152 left, Avoided really wants to hold on, of course, to get the card not to the end. But the most important part is that if it gets to the end, it's in under a minute. So only 42 seconds before that happens.
Nice Fortify, able to survive the Rip Tire. Nano Boost used on the Sigma to help him stay in the fight as well. Supercharger out from the defense, and even if Our Zero loses this fight, they've done a good job of pulling out the ultimates. Oh, but they're spending their own. Our Zero, you needed to save those for this final fight.
Yeah, and that's definitely a calculated risk you're taking there, where you're saying, oh, we might just use them to get something back because we denied their Rip Tire. But if you deny the Rip Tire by using a Nano Boost, then the person using the Rip Tire has already, you know, said, you know, that was successful. I didn't kill anybody, but I made them use resources. Especially that that Nano Boost could have been so impactful on something like the Bob or maybe even Sinoid in general.
Now Arrow Zero at a massive ult deficit as they're pushing in. 50 seconds on the clock. Supercharger used early. Bauer able to take out Inven in the back line. Still 4 ults available for the defense. Aquamarine close to that tire. The Flux going to be the first thing coming out from Avoided. Sinoid throwing the Bob down. 7th man on the field. But Bauer goes down. A disastrous start here with just 30 seconds left on the clock. Bastion main throwing in the tank configuration. Finding a pair of kills. There it is. Both supports fall under those big cannon blasts.
Yeah, configuration tank, they will call it configuration dank because there was some good kills coming out of that one. I'm seeing some ultimates online for both teams, but Sinnoh has to go back over to the Tracer to make it back in time. It's only 8 seconds until this thing ticks over. The Dragon's Strike will actually help them approach, but it wasn't quite the right angle, and Aquamarine finally gets value on that tire. Oh, but over.
The Dragons were just slightly off. If they had just been a touch over to the right from the Hanzo's point of view, it would have covered the Bastion and the majority of the defense. As it stands, they were not moved at all. And now, Avoided on match point, looking to continue their undefeated streak here through the Prospect Cup.
Yeah, nice multi-kill there from your Viral, but I think if we look in the kill feed, we'll see like 3 Coalescence kills come out at the same time. Nolan 1, Aquamarine 1, and we didn't quite see it. We didn't quite see it come out, but we know it happened, right? Like Nolan just pulls out the Coalescence afterwards.
That was nuts. You're not supposed to win the 1v4 with a Moira. That's not supposed to happen.
I mean, there's 4 cards on this. Nolan was the only one from Avoid to get a card. Had 34 kills, eliminations, and was part of 56% of the kills of Avoid. Now that tells you a lot. There's not a lot of heroes that would match that stat, let alone a support hero.
One thing I would like to say with that, so you might see that in your normal ranked games at home, but it's because the Moira's throwing in damage orbs. They're doing a little bit of tickles, while the rest of the team does the bulk of the damage. That was not the case here. Nolan was in there putting down so much damage, getting so much value out of that Coalescence in particular.
Yeah, it's definitely the case where you go back over to Nolan's stream if they're streaming. I actually don't know if they're streaming, but if they would be streaming, if you want to play that DPS Moira, first learn from Nolan, then start doing it in your games. Because
I just recommend not doing it in your games.
I mean, look, your team will not be happy with it until you get the value, right? So like you'll only get called out for being a DPS Moira if they notice that there's not enough healing. But if you just kill the enemy team before they can notice there's a lack of healing, then you do DPS Moira correct. And I think that's not exactly what Nolan is doing. I do think a lot of Avoided sometimes dies because Nolan isn't healing them. But if Nolan gets the same, if not more value than the enemy team got on your team, so like our Zero gets unavoided, then Nolan is fine, because eventually if you win the fight, it doesn't matter how you got there as long as you won it. And they've accepted that Nolan is just, that's the way they play Moira. So that's really cool to see. Going into Havana next, though, this will be a bit trickier for Avoided, I think. I think so far we've seen our Zero do okay when they've been able to have more distance between them and Avoided. When they're able to use the space appropriately,
right,
and Avoided not being able to have as much range, especially from the Bastion and the Junkrat, but also to a degree from their Sigma if they play it, or one of their other tanks, even their supports to a degree. This long-range map of Havana could very well work out in the favor of our Zero, because they seem to get better and better at potentially dealing with something like Avoided is running.
And I like how our Zero are making the micro swaps. They seem this close to being able to download Avoided, and Avoided just making the counter swaps of their own and narrowly edging it out seemingly every time. It's our Zero. I think it's worth pointing out our Zero had map pick for King's Row, and once again here her Havana. So they're looking to try to find the best geometry, the best ways to close the gap and conquer Avoided's composition, and Avoided still coming out on top. Avoided choosing to attack once again is what it looks like, and I like the brass it takes to attack first. It just seems to be par for the course for this team.
The one thing that is happening here, though, and this is going to be very important, Aquamarine has been swapped out. Dyslexia is in now, and that will most likely mean that we'll have no more Junkrat on this map, and instead we're going to have a Symmetra. And that is almost, I wouldn't say it's a direct counter to what our Zero is potentially planning to do with a long range, but if you have a Symmetra, you can teleport your Bastion around the map creatively, then even a long range comp might not be able to poke you down, because you can teleport in or closer to them where they don't want to fight you, or you can teleport away from them, from the place where they wanted to fight you. So that element of bringing the Symmetra into it is going to make it very hard for our Zero. They're going to have to adapt again to something that they're not familiar with. Instead of the Junkrat will not be a Symmetra. It's a different type of damage, different type of playing around. It's a different type, even a different ultimate that comes out, and all those things can work so well in Avoided's favor. And even if you figure the composition out, they play it. They know what works against their composition. So if you pick what works against their composition, they'll either change their composition or they'll change the playstyle, which you're not used to, but they already know that that's what would work. It's like they're always going to be that step ahead of you. And that is the hardest part. Yeah, that's the hardest part, right?
And the Sim does such a good job of, once you find a flank angle and you've got an advantageous position to try to surround the Bastion, suddenly the Sim turns that advantage into a disadvantage, and you're just caught out in the open and caught in a vulnerable position.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem as well is you cannot even look at what happened in Trials, right? Because Avoided actually got beaten in Trials and had a rough time in a few games in European Trials. But again, different roster, different heroes, different way of playing against it. They play the Orisa Wrecking Ball, Pharah Junkrat, Mercy, Baptiste composition. Right. And that's just not the same. It really isn't. because you don't have the DPS Moira, you don't have the Bastion, you don't have the Sigma ball, you have the Orisa ball. Like
Right.
everything around it works differently, so you can't even VOD check at that point.
It's, expect the unexpected. That's what we're learning from Avoided time and time again. And
Yeah.
like you say, how do you counterpick against that? It's going to require excellent scouting, I think, is the key here for Hour Zero. I would like to see a Sombra come out, not for playing, and I mean, perhaps that could work, but it's the scouting and the information that's so important. Information is going to be key here for Hour Zero if they want to try to take a map off of Avoided.
Yeah, and of course, I would normally say against Avoided, it might be a good idea to play some hyper dive in order to not be able to be touched because you're too mobile, not be able to be spammed out because you're too mobile, and able to just burst something because you can get close enough without, actually being spammed down. But the problem with hyper dive is that it's very fragile, and with the heroes they're running, the Symmetra, the Bastion, even to a degree sometimes, they run the Baptiste and the Moira, like they're hard to pin down, not because they're so mobile, but because when you get on top of them, they still do so much damage. And now with the Symmetra, you try and dive the Bastion, what are the chances they see the dive coming, just teleport away, and they use your cooldowns for nothing, they spam you down? Like there's
no dive. Yeah, there's no dive coming out from the defense this time. Hour Zero gonna bring us the Orisa Hog with the Hanzo and the Pharah to put the hurt down.
Yeah.
And taking a very aggressive posture right in front of the gas pumps.
Pharah has been its classic counter to at least to Symmetra, so I get it. Dyslexia will not even get out of spawn.
That's a good start here for Hour Zero. No teleporting for you on that attack, and running right back into the safety of their spawn goes Avoided.
I think that Roadhog pick kind of shows us one of the ways to try and deal with Avoided. Just play the pup strats. Because Roadhog getting a hook on that side, I do that in quick play. Like, that's just something, and Avoided might actually play in a very similar fashion, where they're playing in a way they would play in ranked on the individual heroes, but just as a team. And
what is this rooftop battle we're seeing? I'm sorry. What the heck? What's that? You're seeing a Hammond and the Pharah fight on the roof of the spawn.
Oh man, that's how that goes on that roof on Havana. You can fly above their spawn, so I wouldn't do Aspire. It's extra cover, but they do get viral in the end. Jam is not able to resurrect that, so this will be easier to get a spawn now for Avoided.
Yeah, Hour Zero just needs to back up, play that first corner, wait for the Pharah to get back into battle. That barrage is going to be tough to get out against the Bastion. As Avoided does eventually kind of regroup, make it out of their spawn, see if they can get this cart underway. Synoid picking off, and been there early, but Cupcake goes down as well, holding the nano boost. So there we go, cart indeed underway. Defense will be coming back with a whole host of ultimates, though.
Well, they have plenty in the bank. There will be quite a few online as well for Avoided, but not as much as there are. Beckenbauer the furthest away. There's the only one that doesn't have it yet on 80% now, so they'll be able to get it. Nice whole hog here. Will not quite find BAME 1 fan, but it's close. Forces them out.
Yeah, and trying to deny some space. I think just trying to hold that high ground, not allow the flank to happen. The barrage comes through the back and finds 3. Beautiful play. Nano boosted the Pharah. I was wondering where that was going to go. And it was Viral, the recipient of that extra damage, putting it to good use there.
Yeah, nano and damage boosted, I'm fairly certain even. So it was just way too much damage that comes out there. Even a Wrecking Ball just melts in seconds. Even just 1 second probably out of that one. Beautifully done, and Avoided does seem to have some trouble on this map so far. This longer range spam is definitely working even against that Symmetra, but Hammond main will get that Sigma pick on Beckenbauer. Train Cloud on the flank will be spotted out, so they know they're there, and they get Cupcake. Oh, Cupcake, that's not what you wanted to see. She was a big part of that defense, and now they get the teleport out. There we go.
Yeah, the teleport strats finally coming into play, putting Bastion main up on that high ground. And there's no Pharah left. There was no Cupcake to keep them alive. And with 70 seconds on the clock, Avoided. They can see these 2 doors. Good, looking to put a point on the board.
Yeah, it's very hard to recontest this. You don't have the barrage to just pop out of the window and kill 3 straight away. So it doesn't look like they'll even try. But they will put Train Cloud and Viral on this very flanky angle to start with. Very aggressive forward. Already the hook out from Train Cloud. And together with Viral, they just take them down if this Blind Stellar.
Good discipline coming through from Avoided as far as ults are concerned. Only using that tank configuration to push it home. And what we saw there, Poidea, you saw Our Zero throw 4 ultimates out, win a fight, and then they weren't able to win one since. Now, Sinoid looking to strike back. Does take Bastion Main down. Viral will take down Irvin. Jam falls though, and Cupcake falls. BIM1 finding both support. Sinoid able to pick him off, but there's no more healers right now for the defense.
No, and eventually
Nolan
gets those last few shots on the Viral. Didn't have that Mercy with them, of course, because Jam had died, as you said. And once again, Avoided. Perfectly capable of fighting a fight on like 2 or 3 different fronts at the same time. Whereas our Zero is just not used to doing it that way. They're used to playing as 6. They're used to playing like, oh, but if they all play together, this is how we counter it. But they're not all playing together. They have a teleporter up on these distillery vats. Bastion Main can just teleport up there and start shooting back at them with that shield in front of him.
And Bamfin in the back with the mine. Slams down supports once again. Here comes the Flux to couple with the mines. I love this combo. And it connects them. 3 kills immediately. Urban does go down, but it looks like this fight will be won quickly enough that Avoided. They're not going to miss that healing here.
No, I think they'll be fine without it, and they'll probably going to capture this checkpoint. No one left alive, and the cart isn't far enough away that a proper retest can come in. We will once again see Viral and Jam be above this point. I don't think they've been spotted yet, so they might be able to go for an aggressive barrage here if they wanted to slow down the momentum. 3 minutes is not a whole lot to push into this point, so there's a good chance this will still be held before the end.
Yeah, the Fortress can be very difficult. The Nano Boost thrown onto the far end as well, but Viral ate an anti-nade, so the Nano didn't get the extra healing. Nevertheless, the barrage still comes through, finds a pair of kills. Trincloud and Bauer picking up the counterpart tanks. And that's a good start here on point C for our Zero.
Yeah, but still, you only pick up a few kills in their actual spawn. Now, we know how good they were with spawn holding on the first point on Havana, so this could very well be another one of those situations. And you do see a Trincloud on the flank picks up Nolan, and they're going to have a hard time just fighting against the spam. They don't have that double barrier that can just get them out of spawn easily. It's only 2 doors.
But once again, our Zero had to use 4 ultimates to win that fight. It was nicely done. Like I said, now they can hold him into these 2 doors. Bastion Main coming off of his namesake hero, picking up the Widowmaker only momentarily to try to find an opening pick, and then right back on to the high-powered optic. Ooh, Viral Sleep Dart out of the air, just narrowly able to escape the damage. Jam does fall, and then eventually there goes the far up part of that combo. Bastion Main picking up Valor, and the aggressive hold looking to finally fall apart here for our Zero.
Oh, nice shot from Sinoid. Cupcake almost died there. Used the nade in the exact right time. Good timing from that Ana. But you really saw what Avoided wanted to do. They wanted to take out that pharmacy first, take out the 360 approach that was happening on their side. Oh, 180 because it was only half a circle. And then they can finally start working on those other parts because the ground war is completely safe. Don't have to worry about the sky anymore. Viral now goes over to the Junkrat. I get that. On this point, there's a more open area. Bastion Main will be very annoying to deal with on that range. And they can just spam down nades now without really being in danger that much.
I'm curious where they're going to put this teleporter. Are they going to try to get Bastion Main up onto that top left high ground? That's what I'm anticipating, and I think that'd be a smart move. Gravitic Flux will out once again. Are they going to couple with the mines? They do indeed. They've been using this combo all day to great effect. And then finds a kill. Immortality Field forced out from the defense, but Supercharger there as well. Will the extra damage be enough to help our Zero plant their feet? So far, they've found 2 kills, but they're losing teammates as well. Still seems to be anybody's game. Jam getting into the mix. BAME1 gets jammed there by the Baptiste.
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Right? No, we're talking here about a map that's ridiculously hard to complete. With 30 seconds left, they do have the ultimates to potentially do it, and all they really wanted from that last fight is to push that card into last fight territory. Now it's there, and they have to keep on pushing. They have to finally win a fight and get it into the seaport.
This is the last opportunity for Avoided. 2 ultimates online. Inman goes down. Does manage to get the Nano Boost out. Went on to the Bastion, I believe.
No, the Moira. It was the Moira.
It was the Moira. The Coalescence.
Nolan,
man. I mean, he's got to be in double digits for the amount of Coalescence skills we have seen today from that Moira. Just light up the feed.
No, the one just keeps on killing.
Oh my goodness, it's a 5K here for a Moira on the back of point C. And Avoided controlling the Fortress now, putting their attention onto the Reinhardt. The Warriors are there. The Hammond cannot last much longer. Back to spawn you go with the overtime wait burning. 3 points on the board here for Avoided.
I am sending Invin and Nolan a friend request after this. I want to have some duo games with those guys. That would be amazing. Just literally going in there and getting like them just doing both the healing and the damage. I just have to stand there as the main tank that I am. It's like, you know what? I'll just make sure that they don't get on top of you. And they're like, on top of us? We're behind them. What are you talking about? I'm gonna get on top of them, especially Nolan. Namus boost. So a great play there in the end. You would expect a lot of teams to get that Nana boost to the Reinhardt in that scenario. But the Reinhardt just can keep swinging around. But of course, Moira's range and her ultimate are so good in a scenario like that when you Nana boost it. It does so much damage. And it was a very nice thing to see that Invin recognizes that. They know that. And Nolan gets that confidence to just do more of the damage that they've been doing before. Now we will see Avoided on the defense play with the Symmetra still, and this time around I think on the defense this teleporter with Bastion Main will really come into play. On the offense it's harder to pull off, the defense can really spam it down easily, but if you're defending yourself you get to decide where you're holding. So you can keep teleporting around. Teleporter can be in a safer space that that our Zero will have to push into to try and destroy. So this will
control angles.
Yeah, exactly. And now that we're gonna have the our Zero come out with essentially what they were running on the last point, minus the well, now they have the pharmacy instead of what they were running before, which is the Moira and the Junkrat, I think. Yeah, I mean, that far worked on this point. Yeah, it worked. So defensive Avoided, which I think their comp is more suited to, versus offensive our Zero, which don't really have a preference for either side with this comp, I'd say.
Will the pharmacy be enough to overcome the Sim Bastion's trap? Looks like our Zero has spotted the teleporter. Gonna put the damage down. They've also picked up the tank on the right-hand side. Trying to put pressure down, but it's just a bait. Hammond Main just gonna draw him right back into Bastion. He's gonna teleport to the other side. Viral able to pick up that rotation, takes Bastion out of the fight. Now our Zero pushing in and trying to do the surrounding himself, trying to create the flank angles that the defense wants to create. Viral finds the kill onto Irvin. Nano boost used? That was early. Looks like that went on to Viral there. Not a whole lot of value got out of it, but in the end, Cyanoid and Viral able to rack up a couple kills, open some room for our Zero.
Well, was it Nano boost? I don't think Cupcake has Nano boost yet. Doesn't really matter. We'll see Bastion Main on the Widow briefly. They might just switch over back to Bastion. But it's a tough one here, because you do see, once again, Train Cloud going for those very aggressive flanks that needs a lot of resources to be stopped. And Viral, meanwhile, is just also another distraction. They have to look at multiple angles and Avoid it. Doesn't seem to really be capable of dealing with it as well.
No, Avoided getting a little bit of hubris there, coming out one at a time. Our Zero doing a great job of picking up the recontest, sending them right back to spawn. Great time here for Point A. And a couple ultimates online here for our Zeros. They push it in. In fact, 5 ultimates online.
5, yeah. They'll be ready for this. Avoided will have 3, including that wall of Zalexia that can be so overpowering. It needs to charge up a little bit more. There's already aggressive posing from Viral. They're so far in, and they're just not contested. Look at that!
What a clever play! Viral killing Bastion Main and Irvin off guard. Cyanoid investing the Dragons into it as well. But Valk thrown into the mix. So 3 ultimates here invested from our Zero, and they're able to find the kills, but only about halfway through the distiller.
Yeah, the cart isn't moving at a rapid pace, but they're doing the most important thing they need to do against this Avoided composition. Never let them set up. Never let them get comfortable.
Oh, the hook is just a hair early. Hits the shield. Now the flux from the defense. Nano boost used this time onto the Hog. He's going to throw the whole Hog down. Try to deny Avoided from dropping down onto the low ground. But here comes Nolan once again with the 2-kill coalescence. Just been the bane of our Zero all night long.
Nolan power. That's kind of what we're going to be screaming at this point. And they finally were able to get through. Avoided is able to set up. They're able to go on their offensive. They're able to go on their tempo. And that's all they needed. That Dyslexia wall did so much. Even the shield from Hammond Main helped out there. And yeah, it's just hard to get through that. As soon as our Zero doesn't dictate the tempo anymore, as soon as they can have Avoided actually be set up, they're just not capable of breaking that anymore. That momentum is completely halted, and they'll have to start basically from square one.
Yeah, not a good start there. Jam taken down early as Synoid and Jam were looking for a flank angle, but it's just buying more time off the clock here from Hour Zero. On the defense, you do have Amp Matrix and the Hammer Mines are ready to go. That Flux not far behind from the explosive Flux combo we have seen here from Avoided time and time again. Synoid throwing the Dragons down, trying to clear off that left high ground. Amplification Matrix forced out as well, so a lot of cooldowns used here from the defense. Could be an opportunity for Hour Zero to push in, but they've got to find the kill. Dyslexia's going to take down Train in the back, but Viral finds Bame1 fan. Both teams missing a tank, and now Bastion main throwing out a tank of his own. He's going to pick Jam out of the sky with a beautiful shot from that configuration. And back into spawn goes Hour Zero as a soft reset is definitely called.
Bastion main probably got to change their name to Sniper main at this point. I think that was exactly what's happening there. Just you go use this configuration tank to shoot from long range, and that's not what you see Bastions do often. Often they'll just wait till the enemy team's a bit closer, then they'll use the ult. Transformation takes a while. They either get killed before the transformation comes off, or they get like 2 or 3 shots off. Bastion main doesn't want to let that happen. They want to use it from range. They want to be able to put out the damage effectively. Because from that range, that ultimate does so much more than their Gatling gun would have done.
2 support ults online here. Bastion main's ult, the only one used from the defense, so they're going to have 5 ready to go. We're going to get the Photon Barrier and the Mines to start things off. Then once again, Nolan finding kills with the Coalescence. Just something I feel like I've just been saying all day long here, Classy. My goodness, Nolan, what a strong Moira.
Nolan, the triple kill specialist, that's kind of what we're talking about. It's not even a Moira, this is a triple kill specialist at this point. I mean, it just happens that they've played nothing else but Moira, but that's just who they are.
Yeah, are we watching triple DPS here?
Yeah, basically. I guess that's where we're at. I mean, in a lot of ways, right, when you look at other competitions that teams run, where they run the Baptiste is the one that does so much of the healing, so much of the bulk of the healing, that you can kind of have the Moira just do her own thing. And Nolan is just the embodiment of that, of the DPS Moira.
Even in that situation, the other support is a Lucio or a Zen.
Trey Cloud is very sneaky. He's in the barrel room right now. Oh, they found him.
Yeah, he was forced back out. Oh, now Amplification Matrix in front of the Bastion. Here come the Dragons. The Immortality Field is there. Bastion main going to throw down that tank configuration ultimate and keep Train Cloud at bay. On the ground level, Hammond main and Nolan find a pair of kills. Bame1 does go down. Ooh, 4 kills on the back end. 7 seconds on the clock. And it is a 3v3 on the objective, if I've got it correctly. Bauer finds another pick.
Nolan is alive.
And Nolan's still alive. Bame1 back into the fight. This thing is not over yet. Supercharger gonna have to come out just to try to secure the back of point B, and even still, it's not a guarantee. 2 characters from Avoid are gonna drop onto the point to contest the progress, while the Bastion sits up top. The Mortality Field thrown down to keep the front line alive, and here comes Nolan with the flank Coalescence. Finds 1, finds 2. Is the Moira gonna fall? Finds 3 with a Coalescence, and that is gonna do it. Avoided. Taken Havana and the 3-0 sweep here in our series.
And they just keep, like, they know Nolan is there. They even looked at Nolan a few times. But no one's even bothering to try and get that Moira. It's just mind-boggling. They'll get to play the game this time around. Last time they got it stolen by Viral with the Nano Blade. This time around, it's going to be that last point. You see the Nano Boost coming in like 3 seconds, I think. Is it out yet, or is it already out? I don't even know. At this point,
it had already been used. But
wow. It's even worse than the last game. It's 44 eliminations and 66% kill participation, which was only 34 and 56 last time around. So Nolan is only getting better in this series, and it's good that it's over. It's a 3-0 win for Avoided. Otherwise, I don't know. They would have just gone for like 100 at that point. Like it was scary Moira.
Hour Zero fall into 3-3 here in the tournament. Yeah. One last chance on Wednesday to try to get into the finals, into the playoffs rather. Avoided moving to 6-0, maintaining their perfect streak so far through the Prospect Cup.
They can really not get knocked down to that to that non-playoff spot anymore. They've just mathematically, theoretically, in every way, shape, and form are they qualified. And our Zero, like you said, 3-3. They have to do it next time because I don't think a 3-4 win-loss ratio will get you there. But it all depends also on what the other teams do. It's just you want to be in control of your own destiny. You don't want to have another team decide what you do. And with 8 teams in the group, being on that positive one is very important. Being on that 4-3 rather than 3-4. So our Zero, a lot of promise. They showed a lot of good strats. They actually showed a lot of understanding of what Avoided was trying to do, and had a very good way of countering it. It's just that we know what Avoided does. It's like they play that composition, but once you figure out how to counter the composition in the way they're playing it, they'll just change how they play it, or they change one hero and everything is different. And then you get held on Havana second, or on King's Row third, or like anywhere else. Like they'll just are always that 1 or 2 or 3, 5, 50,000 steps ahead of you.
The only thing you can count on from Avoided right now is that they're going to win games. And you'll have a lot of fun watching them play. But we're not done here yet. It's our first match of the day. But we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back at you in the Western Division. And we'll have the Dojo taking on undefeated Regen when we return.